Thank you everybody for joining. I'm going to make this as quick and fast as possible. It's a very general, broad overview of the polystyrene recycling program that got initiated just recently here at Foothills campus. And we're just gonna, like I said, briefly go over styrofoam and how to recycle and just some nuances of what sorts of materials are acceptable. And of course, I wanted to very much quickly preface that this was only possible with the support of the Graduate Students Association, the Office of Sustainability, as well as Facilities Management and Supply Chain Management. Fortunately, everybody was on board to be able to support this initiative to get it rolling really fast. So it really wouldn't have been feasible without all of these people's help. So moving right away into the actual presentation. So Styrofoam is actually a brand name. The actual material itself is called expanded polystyrene, and it is heavily used in a lot of shipping and storage. I'm sure all of us in research labs are very familiar with the sheer amount of styrofoam that is used, either for the sake of actually holding materials or just for shipping things in more safer material. Currently, styrofoam at UFC is considered trash, so I'm sure if any of us have just taken styrofoam down to the trash area in the loading dock, or just have a little trash receptacle, we are guilty of putting most of our styrofoam in trash. So that's actually what we've been trying to initiate and trying to address and fix. So the reason that this got initiated was the reality that both me and Danielle are students, we're grad students here at Foothills campus, and we are the ones that actually see just how much styrofoam gets used. And I'm sure all the participants here can also agree with us that styrofoam is heavily used and is very common in a lot of our research. Danielle did an amazing pilot study here just with a few labs at the Cummings School of Medicine that showed that labs in general on average can use around 248 liters of styrofoam per month. And that's a very substantial amount because styrofoam is taking up all of this space when it gets sent to the landfills. So the reality of styrofoam, though, is that it can be recycled, and it's actually not just trash. So just to simplify the process and the reason why the styrofoam needs to be sorted in a certain way is actually in the recycling process. We're using a local company to recycle the styrofoam. So styrofoam just gets picked up by the company, then it kind of gets extruded out and melted down into this weird paste form, which you see at the bottom over there. And then once it's all compressed and melted down, this can actually be reused again for to use the styrofoam again. I think has one of the highest efficiency of recycling of all products actually. So it is a very useful material to recycle. It's just for a lot of institutions and municipalities, they actually don't have the capacities for it. So we're using a local company to actually be able to recycle this styrofoam. And that company is called Styrogo. If you're interested, you can actually go to their website, which is linked at the bottom left. So to quickly go over what can be recycled, there are two types of styrofoam that can be recycled. Traditional styrofoam, which is expanded polyethylene, is labeled as number 6, and it also usually has the PS underneath it. So this is the type of styrofoam that research labs often use to hold ice when they need to have a container full of ice to thaw reagents slowly. It's usually also what is used to pack a lot of thermosensitive reagents or solutions. We also have the capacity to recycle number 4 or type 4 polyethylene. So this isn't the standard or classic styrofoam, but it is used heavily in packaging, specifically for a lot of materials or robots or technology, or I guess the more expensive computers and the like. So it's the glossy, more bubbly looking styrofoam. It's officially, I guess, not styrofoam, but this type of styrofoam is also labeled as number 4. Sometimes it has the label on the bottom as well, which is LDPE, which stands for low density polyethylene. So the pilot program that we have here at Foothills is able to accept both, and we have dedicated bins for each type. So there are 3 bins here at Foothills campus, and they are located in the hallway between the Foothills loading dock and distribution services. So if anybody here has ever been to distribution services because they have to pick up a parcel that got delivered to their lab, it's visible. These bins are visible literally right there, and they are rather big. We have 2 bins specifically for type 6, so the classic styrofoam, and we also have 1 bin for type 4, which was that low density polyethylene. Just a very heavy reminder that styrofoam will not be picked up from labs. From my understanding, I know that some labs do have a trash receptacle or like a common area where you can put trash in. We don't have that kind of program in place yet, but in that regard, make sure that if you are going to be recycling styrofoam, that you do make the trip down to where these bins are to place them in yourself. We're not expecting or asking anybody to do that for somebody else's sake at this point. What is acceptable? So this got sent out with the email initially, and it's also available, I guess, on multiple newsletters to the GSA as well. But for styrofoam, so this applies to both type 6 and type 4, is you can only use clean white foam only, which is, for the most part, the large majority of the styrofoam. Make sure you don't break, that you're not intentionally breaking up these small pieces. And if there are small pieces, try to bag them in a bag. And the reason for that is because when we do ask the company Styrogo to pick up the styrofoam, they need to just grab the bins and piece by piece, they need to put the styrofoam into their truck, into the specific recycling truck, or into a pickup truck or anything like that. So if there's all small pieces, unfortunately, it's a very inefficient way for them. And making sure, once again, to put all in the recycling bin, make sure not to put it on the ground. So we're gonna, like I said, make sure you don't break them down. Styrofoam usually doesn't have too much stuff on it, but if there is any tape, stickers, cardboard, or glue on it, try to remove it. You want to make it as clean as possible because the styrofoam is processed from that form that they pick it up in. Make sure that there is no dirt or contamination, just standard practice, and just avoid any kind of mixed, soft, dirty, colored foam. Realistically, if you're not sure if it can be recycled, it might be a better bet to just not recycle it. Otherwise, we might contaminate the whole batch. So just avoiding that overall. The bins are located, like I said, in the hallway between the loading dock and distribution services. So it's not the biggest hallway, and the bins take up a lot of space. It is very important that we don't have the styrofoam on the ground. Otherwise, it can be a hazard for a lot of people there, especially since it is a heavily trafficked area, being in between the loading dock and distribution services. So do not place styrofoam on the ground. And of course, if the bins are full, our contact information is right beside there. Just let us know and we can get them cleared out as soon as possible. And finally, the whole purpose of recycling and one of the best ways to increase recycling participation is to make it easier. By all means, this is something just Danielle and I guess, initiated to start, but more perspectives are by all means better. Especially if you think there is a way to make it more easy, because the easier it is, the more likely people are going to do it. And I've never been a lab manager or a lab tech, so I don't know the inner workings of a lot of circumstances by all means. So if you have any questions at the end of this presentation or just by email, let us know. And I would very much want to be able to make it easier for anyone. But that is literally the end of the presentation. Hopefully it didn't take too much time. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please contact either myself or Danielle. I just put our relative schools there, I guess. It's not relevant by any means, but if you're in the Cummings School of Medicine, Danielle might have some better information that he might be able to provide you and the like.